Okay, guys, so it's really important to think of the questions that you want to ask in an Akashic Records reading, because they will determine the reading, and they only give answers to what you ask. So you kind of have to be a little bit of a detective and really dig for answers. Even I have to dig for answers sometimes, and I will definitely help you through the reading with whatever questions you have. But the questions that work best in the records are what, why, and how. So for example, the example that is given in the book or in the courses that you take is, and I'll read it now, it says, should I stay with my partner? Instead of asking that, it would be better to ask, why are my partner and I together? What are we meant to learn? Or if you're not in a relationship yet, you're like, what am I meant to learn to get to the point of where I can have a relationship? What are the disadvantages of being in a relationship with a certain person? Where are the advantages? Why? So just to give you some examples of what it says in the book, it says, so if you wanted to ask, should I stay with my partner? It would be better to do one of the following questions. For example, why are my partner and I together? What are we meant to learn? Why is our relationship broken? What am I not seeing? Why am I not seeing it? So those are kind of the examples of questions you could ask. So it could be with a job. You're like, how can I make my work environment better? What do I need to learn at this point to move forward in my career? Is there something I'm not seeing regarding a coworker? And I usually like when people ask and think it's, I like it because it really helps bring the information together. I like it when people ask about problems they're having in their lives and where the problem is coming from. So as I said in my video, it's not very good to ask about future. The records are not very good about future. They will, however, talk about possibilities for the future, but it's usually a 50% chance that they will come true. So it really depends on what happens. And they've showed me that there's a lot of other factors in the way of wherever you're heading. Everyone has free will. So this is not about fortune telling reading. It's more about learning about yourself and self-realization. So for example, you should avoid questions that start with when, because those talk about the future. And also you may get really weird answers about it. So it's better to ask, what about the energy of this person? Is this person good for my business? Is this person bad for my business? Which are not very good either, actually, because they're yes or no questions, but I usually ask about the energy. So if somebody asks, so they're not very good either, as I was saying, but it's best to ask things about the energy. So whenever somebody asks me that, I would rephrase it and say like, oh, what does the energy of this person look like? Does it seem like it's going to be something that is going to help me? What are the qualities of this person that can help me at this point in time? So things like that. And whenever I notice, like if you're not asking a question that they will answer correctly, you can just rephrase it, and I can just rephrase it. So it's okay if you have yes or no questions. But when there are questions about the future, it's like, when am I going to get married? Or am I ever going to get married? That's usually, they will say, well, it won't tell you exactly when you're going to get married. It will talk more about, this is what can I learn before getting married? What can I learn from the space I am right now in my relationship or in my life? And okay, so other good things to ask about the records. I really like to ask about past lives and any past life that needs healing, that has, I say, show me any past life that they had that is relevant to where they are in their life now, in this particular life. I will also ask about ancestral ties or things like, what is an ancestral pattern that I've been carrying that I need to let go of? So that's always very helpful. And then I sometimes ask about loved ones. So there's usually loved ones in your Akashic records, and if you have somebody that was close to you that passed away, they're probably going to be in your records, especially if your energy matches. Now, they're not always in your records, but they're usually around. So if you do have a question and you do want to connect to a loved one that passed away, it probably will show up. Okay, so another good one is healing a difficult relationship in your life. So for example, you could have a relationship with someone that you don't understand why it is so difficult, and there can be healing, or at least the ties between both of you can be solved and you can feel the healing. I have found that sometimes there are relationships that it's better to let go of and move on, because it does take free will from the other person. So I can't promise you, or people who promise that they're fixed your relationship with your ex or whatever, that really, everyone has free will. But at the same time, there is a healing you can do and have more awareness of why it is happening. So you can ask about a difficult relationship in your life, and some examples of that is like, what is the true nature of this difficulty? For example, we could ask, why is it so difficult for me to accept this person as he or she is? What happened between us that is keeping the relationship, that brought this pattern into our lives? There's also, what is the highest probability of this relationship? So even though we can't ask about future, we can ask, what is the highest probability for something? So if you're asking about a new business venture, for example, then you would maybe ask, what is the highest probability for this business to be successful? What is the highest probability of my marriage to work? What is the highest probability of any situation? So that's also a good lesson. There's also we can ask, what is the soul level truth of a situation? You can ask if you had past lives with certain people. You can ask, let me see if I can find something more. Oh, you can ask about limiting patterns that you have, or limiting situations that you've been feeling. For example, you can ask about the limiting belief. So maybe you believe you're not good enough. So where did you find out that you were not good enough? Was it from this life? Was it from another life? I found that I've had a lot of ancestral things coming up. I'll talk about that in another video. But there's a lot of things that you carry that are not from yourself. And once you know that, you have the awareness, and the awareness really heals the situation. So that's amazing. Then you can ask, did this problem begin in another life? This problem begin in this life? Where should I, what do you think is the best option for me to move on in life, business, spirituality? What else should I be doing that I'm not seeing at this moment? All of these are great questions to ask in the records. Okay guys, so that's all I have for today, even though it was a lot, but those are the things that you can ask in your Akashic Records. And you can basically ask about anything. If there's a question that, is not working, they won't answer it. If I ask, will I meet the love of my life this year? They'll probably won't answer it, and I'll be like, okay, let's rephrase that, because that's not a very good question for the energy in the Akashic Records. So we can ask it differently. So don't worry about it. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to, you usually get a lot of the information before even asking the questions. The other day, somebody had a question about their brother that they wouldn't even think of asking, and I was thinking, I opened the records and I'm like, I'm seeing your brother. Do you have a brother? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, what happened with your brother? There's something here that blah, 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 blah. confidential, but you know what I mean. So when you do book a session, just let me know. You can ask me all the questions you want before the session, so don't worry, and everything's gonna be okay. You're just gonna have fun and probably heal what you need to heal and get to know what you really need to know. You'll always learn what you need to learn, and that I can promise you. Thank you.